You shouldn't feel pressured to care about Charlie Kirk, especially when it's clear that Donald Trump himself never truly valued him. That was made incredibly obvious during today's memorial service, where Trump was expected to deliver a eulogy for someone he often claimed was a close ally. Instead of honoring Kirk's life, Trump spent more time talking about unrelated topics like tariffs, autism, and his political rivals, turning what should have been a moment of remembrance into yet another speech about himself. The contrast between Trump's remarks and the heartfelt words shared by Charlie Kirk's widow could not have been starker. While she spoke with sincerity, Trump made the event all about his own agenda, which was both embarrassing and deeply disrespectful. And, as always, it showed where his priorities really are. We're going to break it all down, but before we do, if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support our work and make sure you don't miss future updates. Now let's start with the so-called big announcement that Trump surprisingly opened his speech with.
It was Charlie who helped unite MAGA. And you know what MAHA is? That's right, Make America Healthy Again. And tomorrow we're going to have one of the biggest announcements, really medically, I think, in the history of our country. We're going to be doing it with Bobby and Oz and all of the professionals. I think you're going to find it to be amazing. I think we found an answer to autism. How about that? Autism. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking in the Oval Office in the White House about autism, how it happens, so we won't let it happen anymore, and how to get at least somewhat better when you have it, so that parents can help their child, their beautiful child. That's a big one. I've been bugging everybody over there, get the answer to that.
We keep hearing claims that Donald Trump is grieving, that his outbursts are somehow tied to mourning, and that his escalating attacks on speech are just part of that process. But the reality is much different. When Jimmy Kimmel simply pointed out the facts, exposing the false claim that the alleged Kirk assailant was some kind of left-wing extremist, Trump couldn't handle it. His reaction was a full meltdown, and the backlash was so strong that Kimmel's show was ultimately canceled, not because of ratings or some mysterious reason, but because Trump has always struggled with being mocked, especially when real scrutiny is coming his way. And yet, when it came time to honor Charlie Kirk during what was supposed to be a eulogy, Trump still couldn't focus on the moment. Instead, he shifted attention to promoting a big announcement of his own. Imagine that, turning a memorial into another campaign-style rant. Some in the crowd cheered him on, but others sat in silence, clearly uncomfortable with how far he had taken it.
Charlie and Erica made Turning Point hot. We are looking at a country that has the chance to attain a level like never before. Tariffs are making us rich again, richer than anybody ever thought was possible. And the only one challenging them are people that hate our country or foreign countries that are paying a price, because they did the same thing to us for years. They took advantage of us, but we're making money. We're becoming richer and richer, and we're taking care of our people better and better when we do that, and we can take care of other countries better and better, but we're doing unbelievably well. The tariffs have really been a hold. The election was big, but the tariffs, because of the election, came in. And remember, other nations do that to us, and Charlie understood that. He saw the money. He saw what was coming into our country, and we can use that for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all of these things that we fight so hard for. And that's exactly what's happening. The numbers are incredible. When the news...
In typical Trump fashion, much of his speech centered on himself. filled with exaggerated claims about the economy and moments that came across as erratic. But despite that, there was at least one part of the memorial that stood out as genuinely meaningful. It didn't come from Trump. It came from Charlie Kirk's widow. Her words carried a tone of grace and healing that sharply contrasted with the chaos of Trump's remarks. And her simple statement, "I forgive him," was powerful, reminding us that compassion can sometimes cut through even the loudest noise.
That young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
This moment carries an important message. Regardless of who the attacker was, the focus should be on the principle that forgiveness and unity are powerful tools in times of tragedy. What we truly need is to come together as a country, with leaders on both the left and especially the right making it clear that political violence has no place in our society. Unfortunately, instead of honoring that message and respecting the wishes of the widow, Donald Trump chose to go in a very different direction during his remarks. And what he said left many people stunned.
In that private moment on his dying day, we find everything we need to know about who Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
Erica Kirk called for forgiveness and unity, urging people to come together in a moment of healing. But instead of honoring that, Donald Trump shifted the focus back to anger and his political opponents. Now, no one is obligated to feel sympathy for a family tied to harmful rhetoric. But what matters here is the bigger picture. Many of you watching have been strong advocates for gun violence prevention and for policies that could help end this epidemic, an epidemic too often ignored by Republican leaders. You've also spoken out against a culture of division and hostility that fuels political violence. And while no apology is expected, it's clear that Erica Kirk is experiencing real pain. Unfortunately, rather than respecting that moment, Donald Trump chose to exploit it, using it as another opportunity to push his narrative, even if that meant spreading misinformation.
Many of these people, by the way, are paid a lot of money to do this. They're agitators. They're paid agitators. Remember that? When you see they all have the same beautifully printed sign, every sign is identical, comes out of a top-level print shop. That's not the signs that are made in somebody's basement. Those are paid for by very bad people, and hopefully we're going to be finding out through the DOJ who those people are. At another college, Antifa terrorists shattered windows, threw rocks, and tried to storm the building where Charlie was speaking. It was a really bad one. Often dozens of police officers were needed to prevent left-wing violence. And the violence comes largely from the left. You don't hear that from too many people, do you? And virtually...
The reality is clear, and this violence is not coming from the left. That's simply a fact, no matter how much Donald Trump may try to ignore it. Despite repeated attempts, including launching yet another investigation on top of the first one, Trump and Kash Patel have been searching for any supposed link between the attacker and progressive or liberal groups, and yet they've come up with nothing, not a single piece of credible evidence. Still, this is where Trump chooses to put his focus. Meanwhile, Erica Kirk called for forgiveness, asking for unity. But Donald Trump used that same moment to advance his own agenda, even at a memorial service. That's not just inappropriate, it's deeply troubling. It shows how little compassion or respect he's willing to show, even in a setting that should have been about remembrance and healing.
Terrible thing. Because you can't let that happen. You can't let that happen. Can't let it happen to a country. The Department of Justice is also investigating networks of radical left maniacs who fund, organize, fuel, and perpetrate political violence, and we think we know who many of them are.
The Department of Justice under Trump is going after what he calls liberal groups. But what does that even mean? It's such a vague and sweeping term, and that's the point. By keeping it undefined, they can target virtually anyone they don't like. It's about casting a wide net, creating fear, and using intimidation as a political tool. This has nothing to do with healing or unity. And let's be clear, Donald Trump never truly cared about Charlie Kirk. What we're seeing is exploitation, even in moments when respect and compassion should be shown. That's why it's frustrating to see some Democrats going along with the glorification of a figure used to advance Trump's agenda. It only feeds into the distraction, shifting focus away from the real issue, the steady expansion of an authoritarian project. And if you need proof, just look at how Stephen Miller has already laid out the strategy.
The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity.
Are we serious here? They're saying the quiet part out loud. The goal is obvious. Silence critics, crack down on people they don't like, and intimidate anyone who dares to speak the truth. As Representative Jasmine Crockett has pointed out time and time again, Charlie Kirk was no civil rights leader. He wasn't fighting for free speech. He was monetizing debate. While many of us are working for real change to keep communities safe, Trump and his allies are putting up roadblocks. That's why I refuse to play along with this false narrative about Trump's supposed concern for Charlie Kirk. It simply doesn't exist. It's not real, and I won't let it become part of our political imagination. Someone has to push back, and too many are too afraid to even say the truth. Charlie Kirk promoted bigotry. If he truly cared about free speech, his name wouldn't now be tied to Donald Trump using it as a weapon to get talk show hosts canceled, to push people out of their jobs, even for simply repeating Kirk's own words. Because let's be clear, if you share his statements about race, about kids going hungry, or about marginalized communities, you risk being targeted. That is not free speech. We are not going to let history be rewritten. We'll keep calling it out right here on this show, and if you want to support this work, please consider hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video, and leaving a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.